Do you know what pisses me off? It's when a fundy lies his head off about all sorts of things he knows nothing about. It's all bullshit, but he relies on the other person not being able to refute every single point. At the end of the conversation, most of his shit remains unchallenged, and the idiot looks like he's proven his point. Take Andrew Rappaport, for example. Here is part of an exchange he had during the Bible-thumping wingNUT's last hangout.
When we see red blood cells in a T-Rex, and we say, well, it can't possibly be red blood cells in a T-Rex because red blood cells can't last that long. Well, what's the actual fact? The actual fact is red T-Rex blood cells that we have and have found. Instead of questioning the fact that maybe a T-Rex is not as old as assumed, instead they question how could red blood cells last that long.
Guess what, you fucking moron? Those weren't red blood cells. What the scientists found was a soft tissue called collagen. That's not the same thing as fucking blood cells. And guess what else? Scientists do not jump to conclusions. That's not how science is done. And because they looked into the matter, they found out that iron allows soft tissue to survive millions of years. Now that's how science advances, by trying to figure things out and not jumping to fucking conclusions.
And we have this with many things. We have that with why is the moon still on our gravitational pull? Why does Saturn still have its rings? Why do we still have a spiral galaxy? Why do we have blue stars? Countless things.
Yeah, countless things that have been debunked countless times.
But if you start with the conclusion, evolution is true, as you stated, millions of years, and all these other conclusions that are starting points.
Yeah, instead start with the conclusion that the Earth is only 6,000 years old.
Then you're not doing science. You're doing a philosophy. Do you see the difference there or no?
The only thing I see is you have no fucking idea what science is.
Yeah, but we can see evolution and progress. There were, let's see, these. I forget what year it was. On an island for 30 years, and when they came back, they were completely different.
Well,
they had evolved to fit on that island.
Let's be really specific.
Yeah, let's not confuse things with facts.
Because when people speak about evolution, they use a
fallacy
using the term evolution two different ways. Are you talking general or special evolution?
Okay, Andrew, let's see if you can follow me. First, there's evolution. And you know what else? There's evolution, evolution, and evolution. There are not 2, 3, 4, or 5 different kinds of evolution. There's only one. There is evolution.
What's the difference?
Well, what we would call, we know as a fact, true, what is deemed evolution, genetics. Taking an animal, and as was someone argued earlier in this podcast, that the reason against incest would be because you lose the genetic makeup and you end up creating something that has weaknesses, right? What we do know genetically is that we can lose information. I take 2 wolves and I stick them in Alaska. Over generations, those that have a dominance for long hair are going to survive better. And therefore, within several generations, you won't have short-haired dogs. That's genetics. That's what's called special evolution.
Listen to me, you fucking moron. There is evolution and nothing else, whether you want to accept it or not. It doesn't matter. The only thing special in all this is your little brain. Oh yeah, it's special, all right.
Or what's sometimes called micro.
That's still evolution.
That's
still evolution.
And that's why I'm asking the terminology, because
you're adding a qualifier to it when there doesn't need to be a qualifier.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm removing the bait and switch.
Listen to me very carefully, because I'm not going to say it again. You and your little friends may not like the idea that there is such a thing as evolution. But guess what? Inventing new words that mean nothing is not going to change matters. There's evolution, and that's it.
You see, we take what the Bible talks about of kinds of animals, and
which the
there's
Bible doesn't
nothing.
define clearly.
Well, I'm sorry that God did not speak in 21st century language to people who were not in the 21st century.
Typical apologist making up typical bullshit on the fly.
Um, but you do the same thing. Have you ever seen a sunrise?
Every day.
Every day? You mean the sun revolves around the earth?
I mean, every day I'm up early enough and I see the sun before I go to work.
Yeah, but see,
I see the
the
sunrise.
sun doesn't revolve around the earth. You don't see the sun rise, you see the earth rotate.
No, he does not see the Earth rotate. He'd have to be in space to see the Earth rotate. What he sees is the sun rising over the horizon.
Right.
So why do you speak in such imprecise language?
No, he's not. It's you who is the idiot because you don't understand that the sun rises over the horizon.
Because that's the way we both understand the word of sunrise.
Okay, so God speaks in the language of kind to general people that understand that this is a general thing, and you're arguing it's not correct because he's not specific enough for you scientifically.
No, nobody gives a rat's ass if your supposed God supposedly spoke to those people using those words. The problem is with you using those meaningless words. You're talking to people from the 21st century. Use precise words that mean something.
But you're not being consistent with that. So
How am I not
God
being
speaks
consistent with that?
God speaks of kinds of animals. That's his language, and there's nothing wrong with that genetically.
There's absolutely everything wrong with it because kinds does not mean anything scientifically or genetically.
But what we see in the scientific community is a bait and switch. We take what we know to be true in genetics, and then we say, well, therefore, this general evolution must be true that one kind of animal becomes another, even though that there's no scientific proof for that. There's no observation of that.
Listen, idiot, there's tons of proof. Just because you reject it does not mean that it's not there.
It's an assumption that's made because you start with a conclusion. And that's where the issue is. And that's not been proven. Yet that's exactly what's taught. I'm curious, what kind of animal do you think we're closest related to?
We are genetically related to chimps and bonobos.
And then why
Those
is
are our closest relatives on the tree.
that supposedly in the tree, but that's actually not a scientific fact.
Prepare yourself, folks. Here comes a doozy.
What is a fact is that we take pig organs and we can put pig organs within a human being because that's what we're genetically close to. We've put pig lungs, kidneys, even hearts within a human being because genetically we're matched there. You can't do that with a chimpanzee.
Okay, now you've done it. Unlike you, who doesn't know what he's doing or what he's talking about when he opens his mouth, scientists have some kind of inkling as to what they're doing when they operate on people. They do know that pigs are not related genetically to humans. What sounds like madness to you is actually perfectly logical if you can be bothered to do a little bit of Googling and finding out why doctors do what they do. Let me quote Medscape. The BRMAC considered non-human primate donors to pose the greatest threat of transmitting latent intracellular or unidentified organisms, including retroviruses, and recommended that non-human primates not be used as sources of xenotransplantation products until more information is available to assess safety issues. By the way, xenotransplantation means transplantation between species. Let's continue. This led investigators to seek other animal sources. Monkeys are not considered acceptable organ donors for both practical and ethical reasons. In addition to being uncomfortably close to human on the evolutionary ladder, they also produce few offsprings, are slow to mature, and would be difficult to rear under the sterile conditions required to minimize contamination by shared pathogens. Most investigators agreed that pigs have the potential to be the prime candidates for organ donation. Pigs are plentiful, are quick to mature, breed well in captivity, have large litters, and have vital organs roughly comparable in size to those of humans. So, are you happy with that answer? Doctors do not use pigs because they are closely related genetically to us. So, Andrew, if you want to know more about it, do what I just did. Google it. Don't just assume.